Good evening and welcome to this AZ Votes 2024 special edition of Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Tonight we feature a debate between candidates in the Republican primary for Maricopa County Recorder. The Recorder's office manages public records, including property documents and governmental information. The office is also responsible for maintaining voter registration records and administering early voting. Candidates in tonight's debate will be given 60 seconds to reply to questions, and there will be time for rebuttals. Let's introduce the candidates in alphabetical order. Don Hyatt, who specializes in ITT technology and management, and also tonight joining us is Stephen Richer, who currently serves as Maricopa County Recorder. Let's get things started now with opening statements, and in alphabetical order we begin with Don Hyatt.
Well, good evening. My name is Don Hyatt. I have spent the last 4 or 5 months traveling around this county, and one thing's for certain: people are pissed off at how their elections have been run. I have 38 years of experience working with business executives and then turning around and speaking geek to developers to solve their problems. I solve problems, and Maricopa County has serious problems with their elections. I'm looking forward to working together with the people in this county to solve those problems. You
okay? We can go on to Stephen Richer if you'd like.
No, I've got a couple more things to say.
Okay, go ahead. Take your time.
I'm a 5th generation Arizonan, and I've been married to my wife for 30 years. We have 3 beautiful daughters, and I've grown up in the Tempe, Chandler, or Mesa area and have 3 beautiful grandchildren. I will work tirelessly as the county recorder to help restore faith in our elections.
All right, thank you very much. And now we turn to Stephen Richer.
Thank you, Don. I'm Stephen Richer. I'm the Maricopa County Recorder. I'm responsible for public records, for voter registration, and for mail voting for the entire county of Maricopa County. I'm a lifelong conservative with a record of getting things done. I got things done as an attorney. I got things done as a businessman. That experience allowed me to hit the ground running when I took office as recorder in January of 2021. Over the past 3.5 years, my team has done an immense amount of things. We've done the largest ever voter roll cleanup. We've built Maricopa Title Alert to prevent against deed fraud. We've expanded ballot tracking services on early vote by mail. And we've done an immense amount to expand transparency, such as election tours, such as live streams, such as teletown halls. And it's for this reason, this getting things done is the reason why I've been endorsed by executives like Governor Doug Ducey, Governor Jan Brewer, and the longest-serving recorder in Maricopa County history, Helen Purcell.
All right, candidates, thank you very much. Stephen, we'll start with you. Why do you want this job again? I mean, you have been threatened, you've been accused of criminal acts, all by fellow Republicans. Why do you want to go through this?
This office is at the center of 2 fundamentally important rights: the right to own private property, which is a right that many have fought for, many haven't had throughout the course of human history. And that's reflected in our recording of public documents, most of which relates to real estate. And of course, the right to vote, which I don't think more needs to be said about the right to vote in this country and where it figures in internationally. The stakes have never been higher, so the value proposition has never been higher for me. I consider it a great privilege to be part of this conversation about the future of American democracy and the future of election administration. And for all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, Maricopa County is factoring into that conversation prominently. And so it's a real privilege. And I want to show to not just the state, not just the country, but to the world that Arizona and Maricopa County can do things right and the United States can do things right.
Don, seeing what Stephen Richer has gone through as Maricopa County Recorder and all the brickbats and the lightning rods and the whole 9 yards, why do you want this job?
Real simple. I retired last January to spend time in my garage with my wood shop and to work in my garden. But in early of this part of this year, God put it on my heart to run for this race, because he told me that I need to help do something for this county. We've watched disaster after disaster with our elections, and we've got to fix that. So that's the main reason that I'm running for this race.
When you say disaster after disaster, explain, please.
The 2020 election was not the most perfect election we've ever seen. The 2022 election, where we had about 70% of the vote centers not able to tabulate ballots and spitting them back, and people having to spend hours to go to different locations and try to vote, I call that a disaster.
Respond to that, please.
I would say that's one, a mischaracterization of both the 2020 and 2022 elections. And if you look at the course of election administration, you would find that that's inconsistent. More importantly, if Don wants to fix in-person voting, then Don should be running for supervisor. The recorder is responsible for mail voting. Mail voting went very, very well in 2022. It went well in the November general election. It went well in the primary. It's gone well in every single jurisdictional election. It went well in the March presidential preference elections that we just had.
Why do so many people think it did not go well?
Mail voting? I have not heard that too much regarding mail voting. I think that in our survey that we sent out, most people reported having a very high satisfaction rate with mail voting. Most people like getting their ballot on time. Most people like being able to track their ballot through text messages, through email, through a BeBallotReady.vote portal. And we've done more and more to enhance the security and the chain of custody of all mail voting. And so I'm proud of where our mail voting is at right now. I don't think anyone could fairly characterize it as a disaster.
Don, back to you. You're quoted here, I think on your website, as having serious concerns raised about the integrity of elections in Maricopa County. Explain, please.
Well, I beg to differ a little bit on the mail-in voting. There's been, if mail-in voting is so great, why are our voter rolls so overinflated? Why did we mail out 4 million ballots in 2020 to 2.1 million registered voters? So I don't think the numbers that quite add up in that space.
Before you respond to the question that I asked you, please respond to what he just said.
I'm sorry, that's false. We did not mail out more ballots than there are voters in 2020. Now, I, of course, was not in office in 2020, but since taking office, voter rolls have been a priority. And we have gone in Maricopa County from 2.6 million active registered voters to 2.4 million active registered voters. Under my watch, a decrease of 200,000 active registered voters, despite being one of the fastest growing counties in the country. So if somebody were to say, you're not doing voter list maintenance, I would say the proof is in the pudding with our voter roll list.
What do you think about that, Don?
Well, I'd beg to differ. There were 11,000 homes that received 3 ballots for the exact same voter. Same voter ID, the same name, same social security number, everything about the record was identical. So that doesn't tell me that the voter rolls are cleaned up. That's just a small inkling of the problem.
Please.
So I appreciate Don's raising the importance of voter rolls. They are the skeleton upon which an election is built. But this reflects what I've gone through for the past 3.5 years, which is an allegation that maybe has some purchase on the internet. But when you look to the real facts, when you look to the courts have never found this. If that were to be the case, we would be in serious trouble in the courts. And we have won every single court challenge, every single court case. Why? Because we follow the law, we work hard, and we make it a priority.
Back to the integrity question, because that's a serious charge there, that people running elections and people in charge with elections and associated with elections lack integrity, and integrity is a problem in Maricopa County elections. What are you talking about there?
I'm not saying that people are lacking integrity. I'm saying that our election process lacks integrity. That's really where the problem lies.
Okay, how so?
Well, by the way, Mr. Richard, those figures that I just gave you came from the VM32 file, which is the early voting list. So you can go back and look it up when you get back to the office. The areas that we've seen have been mostly in how the early voting is being used. So the signature verification is one of the spaces where the only thing that stands between you and your ballot is the signature verification. And the videos that we've seen of the office, the recorder, where somebody's sitting there tapping the enter key on approving verifications at 1.6 seconds each, just don't stand up. I've done signature verification. I was trained on the 38-step process of signature verification. And my average on verification was 20 seconds per each signature. So I don't think that the people that have done analysis in this space have come to me and said, it's a disaster still.
I'm still hearing the word disaster again. Respond, please.
You know, it's nice to say these things, and it's nice to say these things on the internet, but the reality is that very point was tested in a court of law, and that was found not to be the case, that we did signature verification not only properly according to law, but better than we did it in the past. And why is that? Because I appreciated how important signature verification was going to be to the process, and so we had added additional audit queues, we added additional training, we added a lot more workers. So to the extent that you're saying signature verification wasn't done, then you're going to have to talk to the over 150 people who did signature verification day in, day out, Republicans, Democrats working together for 8 hours every single day. And so I take issue with that. I also take issue with the idea that signature verification is the only thing that ensures the integrity of the mail ballot. That shows a misunderstanding of the process, especially the barcode that is on that green return envelope.
And again, you can respond, please, if you'd like, but I also want to come back to this integrity issue and trustworthiness. Do you think Mr. Richer is a trustworthy county attorney, county recorder? I
think he's a trustworthy person. I'm not sure about whether he's a trustworthy county recorder, but I'm gonna forget what I was going to say about that before, but the integrity of this office is going to rest entirely on the person that's in the office. And I've been around this county for 5 months, and what I've heard from everybody is that we need to replace Stephen Richer, that he's not been there for the Republican Party to make sure that the integrity of our votes are solid. Everybody keeps saying there's been all these disasters. The fact that the tabulator issue, I call it tabulator cleanup on aisle 3, that's indisputable. And again, that's the Board of Supervisors' responsibility. So as far as that goes, that's where one of the major problems lies.
Okay, the idea that you are a trustworthy guy, but you're not a trustworthy county recorder. How do you respond to that?
Well, again, I would refer you to the courts where we've won every single court case. Every single allegation has been found to be wanting. And as for the security of the mail ballot, we were doing more than ever. And we can trace back every single mail ballot. We can show you its entire lifespan if we want to. Now, if there are particular allegations, I'm happy to look into any single one of those, but none of those has been found to be factual in a court of law.
Don says, though, that he's hearing from Republicans that you are not there for them and that you are not watching out for them in the election process.
I don't know of anyone who is more accessible in government in the state of Arizona. You ask me a question on Twitter, I'll respond. You email me a question, I'll respond. Don's come in and taken a tour of our elections facility. Don's been into MCTEC multiple times. He's even been there as an observer during the 2024 March presidential preference election. So this is a transparent process that I have welcomed people into. Now, what I will not do is I will not lie. And I think that this position requires the type of moral fortitude in order to tell people hard truths. And sometimes when I've told people hard truths, that has been received as he is not with us. Far from it. I'm a lifelong Republican. I'm a lifelong conservative. I believe in free markets, rule of law, the border, making it secure. But I will not lie about the elections process. I will instead improve the elections process, and I will talk to voters about the elections process.
How do you respond to that?
And I've seen a lot of your responses on Twitter. You have been talking to people. That doesn't seem to be the issue that people have with our elections. One of the biggest problems that they see is that they vote and the outcomes aren't anywhere close to what their neighbors and themselves see around them. They see that as a problem, that something's wrong with our voting. And we have 300,000 more Republicans in this county who don't necessarily show up to vote all the time. But that seems to be one of the disparities, is that people say, we're a red state, and why are we so blue? Why do we have a blue governor and a blue attorney general?
So, but are you saying that one of your problems is that folks they're not voting, the results aren't what you see in your neighborhood and your friends?
Yes, that's what people tell me.
What do you make of that?
So I'm immensely sympathetic to those people who are disappointed with election outcomes. And for any of those who have bona fide questions, we will answer those until the cows come home. We will give you an elections tour. We will talk to you about what we're doing to make this process more secure. I voted for a bunch of losing candidates in 2020, including for the presidential contest. But to wrap your head around what the other 2.4 million registered voters in Maricopa County are doing, it's impossible to deduce that from your neighborhood. In Maricopa County, we have about 35% registered Republicans, we have 34% registered independent or party not declared, and we have about 30% registered Democrats. So we are, as recent history has shown, a competitive county. Republicans in some races still do very well. I'm pleased we still have the state legislature. I'm pleased that Kimberly Yee won so handily in her state treasurer's race. Some candidates lost, yes, and that's unfortunate, but that's the name of the game.
Donna, I need to ask you, you proudly state to be MAGA. Are you indeed MAGA? And is that what voters, Republican voters, this is a primary election here, Republican voters want from a recorder in Maricopa County?
I'll answer that backwards. I'm not sure if Republican voters want MAGA candidates as for the recorder, but I am absolutely MAGA. I stand proudly with President Trump. I endorse him wholeheartedly. And the whole Make America Great concept is simple to understand. We've watched our country be destroyed by socialism over the last 60 years. And so I do stand proudly with MAGA.
So do you believe that Donald Trump indeed won Arizona and Kari Lake indeed won Arizona? Those are MAGA principles.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one to answer. So here's my response to that. In the elections you just referred to, people wonder. They think that something's still wrong. And at the end of the day, the issues that you're dealing with have to do with how people see the results. Okay.
Okay, but Stephen, are you MAGA? And if you are, or if you're not, is that what Republican voters now want in Maricopa County?
I'm a little surprised by Don's answer there because I believe you've been more straightforward about the 2020 and 2022 elections in the past. But I would suggest that a candidate running for Maricopa County Recorder, if you cannot answer yes or no with was the 2020 election and was the 2022 election stolen, then you either haven't done your homework or you don't have the moral courage to be able to say yes or no. And so I'm going to say neither of those elections were stolen. We know that from the post-election audits. We know that from the court cases. We do know that from the post-election adjudication as well.
But a number of Republicans don't know that. They believe otherwise. What's going on there?
And I am not, I'm very aware of that. And that's why we're working. That's why we're doing teletown halls. That's why we're doing live streams. That's why we're doing tours. That's why we're doing videos. That's why, as Don, I appreciate you acknowledging that I'm even answering questions directly from voters on Twitter, because that is what we have. That's how we want to build confidence. Now, are we facing some heavy tailwinds? Yes, but we're going to keep working on that. And I do not care what you think about past elections at this point. And I don't care if you're a 2 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 in terms of your confidence in elections. I want you to move up the ladder by the time we get to November of 2024, because Arizona is going to factor in prominently, and it's my office's responsibility to do whatever we can to offer voters answers to their questions. So just give us a chance. Reach out to us. We want to show to you how this process works.
Real quickly, you want to try again on that question regarding Trump winning the state?
Sure. I'll come back to that and say, people believe that there were still problems with the election. Now, whether it was stolen or not requires that you have to prove that there's intent, that there's strategic intent, and that there's been a criminal act there. And no, I can't stand up and tell you that that is the case. So I don't stand up and say that the 2020 or 2024 election was stolen. I say that there would have to be more evidence to prove that.
Real quickly here, a couple more questions. Got to get this in because we're running out of time. Should Maricopa County votes be totally hand counted?
Well, I'm going to say this. If you want free and fair elections, your precinct should end the evening with a friendly hand count. I really believe that the problem in our elections is that it used to be you could go to a precinct and you could have poll observers and they could watch and they could see if somebody was stuffing the ballot box. But you can't see that anymore. People cannot see what's taking place with the green, no excuse mail-in ballots. And we're going to have to end our love relationship with that mail-in ballot in order for us to go back to free and fair elections.
What do you think, Stephen?
So the Maricopa County Recorder's Office and the Board of Supervisors, as pertains to their elections responsibilities, should follow the law. So if the state legislature changes the law and says only one day of voting, only hand count, then we should follow the law. Now, do I think that's good law? I appreciate the reverence for the past, but the reality is that we've had no excuse vote by mail since 1992 in Arizona. So we haven't had that idealistic precinct-based voting where everyone knows your neighbors as you've shown up for a long, long time in Maricopa County. For the people who say hand counting, I say great. For the people who say machine grounding, I say great. We should take advantage of what they both offer. Machines offer speed, they offer reliability, accuracy, they don't get sleepy, they're not biased, they don't get hungry. But we shouldn't just turn on a machine and say, let's trust it. So that's why built into the process is a post-election test by the Secretary of State and a post-election hand count audit done by the political parties where they randomly select batches of ballots. They then hand count those, make sure it matches the machine count. That is how we build confidence in a system.
Last question here.
Please. I want to rebut that. So that's why we have a 28-day election season, and it takes 10 more days to be able to get a final answer. The machines have made it so much faster. We used to get hand count results at a precinct when you're only counting 600 ballots for a couple of hours. You don't have to count the millions of ballots in the whole state in one evening that way. It's done with a large group of people. And we used to have the answers by the time you went to bed. So I have to dispute the speed of machines.
So that's not true. What we used to know is who won races. And that's because in some of our higher profile statewide contests, we had larger margins. And so networks can call those contests. In terms of when we would have the final results, that's not true. Now, again, we're talking about a responsibility of the Board of Supervisors. But I will say on the recorder side, I am very sympathetic to wanting to have more results within the first 24 hours. And that is why I have consistently advocated for making early ballots early. Right now, you can drop off your early ballot until 7 p.m. on election night. I want to see that as the Florida model does, where you have to drop it off by Saturday before Election Day, Tuesday.
And that'll be the last response here. Do you think that's a good idea with these early ballots being dropped off on Election Day? Just knock that off.
Well, again, I'm going to go back to my comment. I really believe that we're going to have to end our love affair with the green, no excuse mail-in ballot.
All right, gentlemen, I guess we got to stop it right there because we're out of time. Thank you, candidates. Time now for closing statements. And going in alphabetical order, we start with Don Hyatt.
All right. So I have 35 years of IT technology management experience and consulting experience. So my qualifications, because of the technical aspect of my background, make me the qualified candidate for this position. I'm looking forward to doing 5 different things. I want to improve the security around title deeds and notify people of changes to them, not just people that sign up for it, but everyone. I want to make sure that we have, I want to clean the voter rolls by notifying voters of changes to their registrations. That right now, people tell me that they don't even know that they were changed on their registration. That's the second one. The third one would be I want to make sure that we have, I'm running out of time there, sorry. I guess I'll have to stop it there.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. And time now for Stephen Richer's closing statement.
Well, I want to thank Ted for putting up with us, and I want to thank Don for being a gentleman throughout this process and throughout this campaign, and for showing up tonight. I really appreciate that. I would say regarding changing your voter registration status, if you change your voter registration status, we mail you a new voter registration card. Now, as to why I would like to have the honor of doing this again for another 4 years, I would say consider the presidential adage of where were you 4 years ago? Regarding our voter rolls, where were we 4 years ago? We're in a better place today. I told you we went down by 200,000 voters despite being the fastest growing county. Where were we 4 years ago? We had a dated 20-year-old website. Today we have a new modern website that makes it easy to find information. Where were we 4 years ago with public records requests? Those would take weeks to fulfill. Now we receive thousands of public records requests. Where were we going? Where were we with transparency 4 years ago? It was hard to get a tour. It was hard to get information. It was hard to get statistics. And so I am proud of the progress that we have made over these past 4 years, and I would appreciate the honor of doing it again for another 4 years.
All right, candidates, thank you very much. Gentlemen, we appreciate it. That's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Coming up tonight at 7. At 8. At 9.